The Grammys are dead. I think you know that. It's not that they're on, life supports. They're dead. The whole thing is dead. The Grammys are no longer a celebration of music. They're a symptom of a large, festering, purulent cultural decline. And as long as they continue down this path, prioritizing political nonsense and this woke lunacy over authenticity, they will remain irrelevant and a waste of our time. And you know this. And why they keep doing this, I don't know. Did they not pay attention to the elections? Do they not think that Trump has anything to do with what Americans think right now? This focus, prioritizing politics over art, shock value over substance, and this stupid activism that we know nothing about over, I keep saying this, authenticity. They're irrelevant. Do you understand what I'm saying? The majority hates these people. What is the purpose of this? I don't understand this. Until then, the Grammys will be little more than a yearly reminder of what we've lost. A golden era of music that spoke to the soul and not the X or Twitter feed. This is the most incredible thing in the world. I don't, forgive me. This was once highly respected. This was eagerly awaited. I remember I waited this, where you would anticipate awards and ceremony for accomplishment. And now it's descended into this cesspool, this pit of self-congratulatory nonsense, and this folk Illuminati, pseudo-satanic drivel. What is this? It's irrelevant. It alienates the very public it's supposed to be entertaining. It's not just me saying this. Last night's ceremony was the latest in a string of breathtakingly tone-deaf, interesting word, performances, eye-rolling speeches, and proof, yet again, my friend, that the event has become a bunch of gas bags and jack wagons and become little more than, a showcase for radical left ideology masquerading as music. And as someone who has watched the industry crumble since its golden age of the 60s and 70s, I'm sorry, it's impossible for me to overstate how much the Grammys no longer matter to anybody. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. That's the most important thing in the world. Out of touch, clueless. First, let's address the elephant or elephants in the room. The Grammys no longer connect with everyday people. If you asked a random person on the street what happened at last night's ceremony, they would say, what ceremony? What are you talking about? The Grammys? What's the Grammys? I don't know. Ratings have plummeted, collapsed, hemorrhaged. They're anemic year after year, and for good reason. Instead of celebrating musical excellence, which I thought the whole purpose of this was, the Grammys have become this glorified soapbox for virtue signaling and preachy, disconnected, woke, radical left blather, political statements, pandering. You're more likely to hear a lecture about climate change or gender politics or I don't even know what, or the systematic oppression of something, whatever, than witnessing genuine, great musical moments. It's like the Super Bowl halftime. They used to be great. Now it's, what is this crap? The average American, remember who the average American is? You. And average doesn't mean plain. We're talking Gaussian curve. We're talking about the people who just elected this president. But the average American doesn't want to be lectured by some multimillionaire, especially after this Selena Gomez stuff, who live in gated communities and mansions while telling us we're all complicit in some imaginary cultural sin they can't articulate or define. They want to hear good music, great music. But good luck finding that at the Grammys. You're SOL, my friend. The ceremony has devolved and collapsed into a contest of who can out-woke whom, or no regard whatsoever for artistry, talent, craftsmanship, great performers. I admit, I'm a child of rock and roll and Motown and R&B, where we went to concerts and saw people actually perform the greatest musical acts. And in my book, the greatest decade ever, the 70s. And if you think the 70s were just about disco, you weren't paying attention. Because the 70s are what people think the 60s were. Last night, there was no shortage of, again, these eye-rolling moments. Oh, my God. Take the performance by Sam Smith and Kim Petras. Or is it Tetris or Tetanus? In any event. So it featured, I guess, an attempt at satanic imagery. Why not? BDSM costumes. And a grotesque, disgusting display of faux edginess. Contrived, forced edginess designed to shock, but which came off as an embarrassingly try-hard collapse and waste of time. This Smith pranced around in devil horns. Devil horns? Devil horns? Devil horns? What? Lucifer? As though we haven't seen this cheap crap stunt a million times before. I mean, devil? I'm sorry. Alice Cooper was still... I remember Blood Rock. DOA. Remember that one? Death. Real death. Not death metal. It was songs about plane crashes and gore. Oh, yeah. I was in the 7th grade, too. And what's ironic is that the Grammys think they're being rebellious. But there's nothing remotely countercultural about this crap anymore. It's stale, it's predictable, it's boring, it's so over. And the one thing is, you don't ever want to be boring. If you're going to shock, that's great, but next time you got to shock even more. And the tragedy of the modern Grammys isn't just its political overreach or this nonsense. It's the fact that the ceremony highlights just how far music, and I guess society, has fallen. The 60s and 70s, oh my God, were defined by groundbreaking artists who didn't just make music, they changed culture, from the Beatles to Zeppelin, Dylan, Marvin Gaye, just go down the list. These were musicians who tapped in and connected into the human spirit, into the soul, speaking to us, universal emotions, things that were going on in the world, love and loss and rebellion and war and tragedy and involvement in politics. I mean, it really mattered. It was cool. In the 7th grade, I remember I used to have a POW bracelet. We were in music and activism. It was great. For what it's worth was, it was our music. But today, the proliferation of lip-synced, auto-tuned, overproduced crap. I'm not going to say anything about rap or hip-hop because I have no connection with that whatsoever. To me, it is the worst form of sound. Not music, sound. Hearing small animals tortured to death is not as bad as that. So I just leave. It's not for me. I leave myself out of the equation. But I do know when music is lyrically bankrupt, and that's it. Pop songs that are churned out like factory products, I guess, and that's always been true to an extent. But the music of today is often indistinguishable from elevator noise. Remember that, kids? Ask your parents. Remember these hits lasting only a few weeks before vanishing into obscurity? And look, I know Spotify's changed everything, and I understand it. And Taylor Swift, and I get it. I got it. I read left sets. I watch Rick Beato. I know that. God bless him, by the way. Sure, there are a few exceptions. There are artists who generally push boundaries to craft meaningful work. Yeah. But they're drowned out by the onslaught of, I hate to say it, commercialized, or the perception of commercialized mediocrity. It's that simple. Even the nominations of the Grammys. Again, this is so sad because I used to really care about this. But even the nominations, They reflect the decline. Beyonce, who now holds a record for the most Grammy wins. Ask most Americans, can you name a Beyonce song? Beyonce? Maybe that's the wrong question. Can you? Can you? Can you name 3 great Taylor Swift songs? She's undoubtedly talented. What is she, about 50 years old now? But when her win is treated as a triumph of representation rather than pure musical excellence, it diminishes the achievement. Her latest album, Renaissance, while lauded and heralded by critics for its cultural commentary, lacks the emotional, the spiritual, the actual depth or innovation of past Grammy winners. Remember Rumors by Fleetwood Mac? The Wall by Pink Floyd? Rumors, Frampton Comes Alive? That thing was just... I just graduated from high school in both of those cases. I mean, it was incredible. Meanwhile, younger artists like Olivia Rodrigo, who could potentially bring some authentic talent back to the storefront, are given little room to grow in an industry dominated by vapid, insipid, void, vacant social media influencers and TikTok hips. And the Grammys should be a place where artistry is allowed to expand. And I'm not giving you this usual stuff like some guy who wants to go back to a period of time. I'm not saying that. But you know and I know the truth. And the truth always hurts. The truth will always get you in trouble. The Grammys, it's over. But the Grammys and the Golden Globes and the Oscars, it's over. It's a different world. Have you looked around? Look who's president. It's over. But this isn't. What we're doing right now, oh, no, this isn't cutting edge. This is now. This is like the quantum computing of our time. So, my friend, do me a great favor or flavor. Whatever you do, don't ever change. Please subscribe. 87% of the people watching right now do not subscribe. I don't know why. Please subscribe, pay great attention, and comment as you see fit.